Alright, so in the previous tutorials we have created our Express application, and we have implemented the proper error handling mechanisms as well. And let me run the project again. So npm run server. Right, so it is okay, so our server is up and running. So now what we can do is simply we can create a controller for these authentication handlings. So I will simply go to the controllers and create a specific file called auth controller. So if you look at the post controller, we have created all the necessary functions to perform generic CRUD operations. But when it comes to authentication controller, we don't need to actually use each and every stuff. So most probably we will be using create method and retrieve methods, right? But the update and deletes will be used in later on. Like if we are doing reset password stuffs, then it's sort of an update mechanism, and if you are going to delete a user account, it's sort of an delete mechanism. But commonly what we using is this retrieve and create, right? So controller is there. Yeah, so before that we need to construct a model, otherwise our controller won't be aware of what sort of a user schema that you are having, right? So first let's define a model for a user, then we can use that model to construct a user object at the controller. So let's say it is user model, and it is somewhat similar to this post model. So first you need this mongoose stuff, right? Then basically we can create a user schema as a new mongoose schema, and we can pass a JSON object by specifying all the necessary details that we want, and finally we can construct this sort of a model and export it. So I will simply copy that and paste it over there, and let's rename by saying user, this is user, and this is user schema, and exporting our user, right? Now we can start declaring the body of this user schema. So first we can have some sort of a field called name. So it is type string, and this is a required field. So if it is not there, we can make an exception by saying please enter let's say username, something like that. Then we can have email. So email, again type string, and it is also required, right? So this must be required, and there needs to be a comma, and in case if it is not present, you can exception message by saying please enter your email, and email should be unique because it's a unique attribute. And let's say this needs to be stored as a lowercase because usually the email follows lowercase characters. And yeah, I think those stuff will be enough to define the email, but we may require some sort of validations later on in order to determine this is a correct email or not. So I will define that later, but first I will define the structure so we can easily do those validations later on. Yeah, and what we need is, then we need the password. So again, password is type of string, and it is also required. So in case if it is not present, it will simply say please enter your password, and we can define a minimum length because we need the proper password structure, otherwise there will be security issues. And yeah, I think this stuff will be okay. And usually these three fields will be enough to have a basic user schema, but we can maybe have a password confirmation segment here as well. Then it will be better structured. Otherwise, if we only using the password field over here, what will happen is that when we are calling that API request, if we mistakenly add a different password, then the server will be storing that as the correct password. So usually if you are familiar with React and stuff, usually we implement these password and confirm password checkings at the client side, which is quite good, but similarly it should be defined at the server side as well. Otherwise our API won't be quite good. Right, so I will create another field called confirm password, and it will simply say please enter your confirm password or something like that, and it will be having the same minimum length as usual in the password. Right, I think now our schema is okay. Yeah, then what we can do is that we can go to our controller and start implementing it. So if you look at the post controller, first we need to import our model, because this is the model that we are going to use when we are storing our data at the MongoDB, and we need this catch async function because each and every functions are asynchronous. Therefore we use this catch async as a function wrapper, so it will automatically handle those asynchronous functions for us. And app error is a custom error handler object that we have defined, so we can easily create and throw more meaningful errors for the users, and we can have some sort of developer and production level separation as well. Right, so these three stuff will be common for any controller that we are going to define. So I will simply copy that and paste it in the controller, but obviously in this scenario we need the user model instead of post model. So use model. Right, then by following the similar fashion we can construct our user object. So if you look at the create method, so here we have created the post object, but now we are going to create this use object. So I will simply copy that and paste it over here. So let's say this function is maybe sign up, right? So sign up. So instead of new post, now we need this new user by following this user schema, and request body can be sent directly, and it will do the corresponding user constructions, right? Yeah, so let's I think this will work now. Yeah, we need to define our routes as well. So in order to define the routes, first yeah, let's create another route folder called user routes. So if you look at these post routes, we need Express first, then we will construct Express router, then we can define our necessary routes. So I will simply no, maybe I will create a new one. So const express require express, and const, let's say, yeah, this is router, so I will use the same. So express router, and we need our functions from our auth controller. So require controllers auth controller. So first function is I think sign up, but we need to export those functions, otherwise we can't use those functions like this. So module dot exports sign up, right? Then go to the user routes, then we can use this sign up function. Yeah, yeah, now we can create a route. So first let's use this router, and the route will be, let's say, sign up simply maybe. So sign up, and it's a post route, so it will point to this function, right? So now let's export our router, and in the app we need to import our user routes like this. So let's say user router and user routes, and yeah, then we need a separate router over here. Let's say auth. Yeah, maybe, yeah, instead of user router, let's rename this as auth routes. Okay, then in the app.js, yeah, I see this auth routes, and this auth router, and auth router will be passed over here. So why this is, yeah, so this must be the case over here, so it must be router, right? Now there is no error, and yeah, I think we can now check that API. So let's create a new method which is post, and simply let's say yeah, instead of that, maybe let's create a new request over here. So add request, let's say user sign up, and it's a post request. Sorry. And it has this base address, and later on we will construct a proper post API workspace, a Postman API workspace, so we don't need to copy and paste these stuff each and every time. So API v1 auth sign up, right, and the body is basically following this sort of structure, so I will copy that, and row JavaScript and paste it over there. Maybe let's use JSON. Right, so the first attribute we require is name, then email, then password, then confirm password. Right, so first one is name, and then we need email, and then we need password, and we need confirm password. Right, so name, let's say something like this, and email, let's say something like this, and password, I don't know, let's say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Okay, it's a very bad password, but yeah, for the testing purposes this will be okay. Right, so now let's invoke the request. Yeah, it can't be sent. Why was that? Our port, yeah, our port is different, right? It's not 5000, it should be 3000. And let's make the request. Yeah, it says that something went wrong, so let's check our server. Yeah, it's the production level error has been invoked. Yeah, let's try to debug it. Okay, so it's constructing a new user. So if you look at the post controller, we are doing the same thing. Yeah. So in this time it's not new post, it must be new user, otherwise this will be confused. Right, so let's try to invoke it again. Yeah, it's working correctly, but first time when you are invoking the message, actually it was created this object for us. That's why it's saying the email list exists. So you can check that out by going to the MongoDB Compass. So let's see that as well. So in the Compass, let's make the connection. GB. Yeah, the users collection has been created, and yeah, you can see that this is a previous object that has been created. So I will simply delete that, and let's try to reinvoke again. Yes, so it is working correctly. So you can see that a new user object has been written, which means it was created successfully. And you can refresh your MongoDB Compass as well. So here is a user object. But yeah, this is not very good practice, because password is visible and there is no email validation stuff, there is no password validation stuff. So we need to implement those stuff as well, and let's see how we can do those stuff.